Hello and welcome. It's time for chapter 6, A Visit to the King's Tailor. A Visit to the King's Tailor. We will talk about chapter 5 in points. What happened in chapter 5? D'Artagnan left for Blois to warn his friends about Fouquet and his men, and also to see Philippe, the king's twin brother. When the three musketeers, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, saw D'Artagnan, they reached to their swords, means they went quickly to get their swords in their hands. Why? Because they weren't sure about D'Artagnan's loyalty to them. They thought that he came to kill or arrest them. D'Artagnan tried to prove that he was with them, and he came to warn them against Fouquet and his men. Philippe helped him in that. D'Artagnan opened Philippe's shirt to make sure that he had the same birthmark as King Louis had his, and also he found it on his shoulder. Athos told D'Artagnan about their plan. They would replace King Louis with his twin brother Philippe during the king's birthday party. D'Artagnan would play an important role in this plan. He would order a second set of clothes for the king, and also D'Artagnan suggested that his friends could hide under the church of Saint John as their usual place, which was the cellar, was no longer safe for them. In the next morning, D'Artagnan woke up to the sound of swords clashing, as Athos was giving Philippe a lesson in the art of sword play. Athos and D'Artagnan fought together with their swords. D'Artagnan won the swords fight against Athos. A young man came and told the musketeers that Fouquet and his men were on their way to Athos' farm. D'Artagnan decided to leave Blois on his own or alone, because he didn't want to be seen with his friends, and he didn't want to destroy their plan. Aramis said that the musketeers shouldn't try to fight Fouquet's men because there were too many of them. They all left the farm in a hurry. D'Artagnan left alone for Paris, and his friends left to hide in their new secret place, which is under the church of Saint John. Let's go to chapter 6. We will start with the new vocabulary. The first word is tailor, dressmaker, tailor, dressmaker, cloak, cloak, an overgarment. Garment means a piece of clothes that hangs loosely from the shoulders. It hasn't got sleeves. Assure, to make sure or certain, to make sure or certain of something. Bother, bother means annoy, annoy. Duchess, duchess, female of duke. The duke is a rank in society, like a king, and the duchess is the wife of the duke. Faded, faded means disappeared, disappeared. Eyelid, eyelid is the skin covers the eye. The skin around the eye is called eyelid. Flutter, flutter, to move slightly. If your eyelids flutter, they move slightly. Disguise, disguise means pretend being someone else. Garment, garment, piece of clothing. Absurd, absurd means silly. Curse, curse, demon, or a cause of trouble or bad luck. Fond of, admire or love someone. Loyal, someone who remains in support for a person or thing. As we know, D'Artagnan was loyal to his country and to the promise that he did to the last king. Urge means to persuade or motive or to convince. Chief minister, first minister. In our story, Fouquet is our chief minister. Carriage, a wheeled wooden car pulled by horses. Carriage. The incidents of chapter 6. Porthos took time saying goodbye to Marie. Who is Marie? Marie is a girl at Athos farm that Porthos was in love with her. Athos was trying to pull him away. He didn't want to go away and leave Marie. D'Artagnan rode off alone, as we said before, because he didn't want to be seen with his friends, and this might destroy their plan. What was D'Artagnan thinking of when he left his friends at Blois? He thought that he might never see his friends again. They might be arrested or they might be killed. There was only one route from Blois to Paris. What does this mean? It means that Fouquet and D'Artagnan had to pass each other at some point, so they might meet each other. It means that Fouquet and D'Artagnan had to pass each other at some point on the road. That's what Fouquet of course wanted to be done, and D'Artagnan didn't want to see Fouquet on the road. D'Artagnan hoped to see Fouquet first. Why? It may give him time to hide in a farmhouse or to hide into a field or a farmhouse. But his horse wasn't easy to be hidden. To have time to hide into a field or farmhouse, but his horse was also a big problem. How? Because it wasn't easy to be hidden. D'Artagnan had an idea. What was his idea? When he was walking on the road, or when he was riding his horse on the road, he noticed a carriage, which we said before, a wooden car behind him. He got off his horse and waited by the side of the road for this carriage. When the carriage reached him, he made a signal for its driver to stop. Why did D'Artagnan think that the driver of the carriage had been in the war? When he saw the driver of the carriage, D'Artagnan thought that he was in war. Why? Because the driver had a scar on his face. What do you mean by the word scar? Scar means a cut at his face. So he guessed that the driver had been on war. What did D'Artagnan tell the driver of the carriage? He told him that his horse had injured its leg and he wanted to ride with him. Of course, he didn't want to be seen by Fouquet and Fouquet's men. The driver spoke to a lady in the carriage. Who was the lady in the carriage? The lady let D'Artagnan tie his horse to the back of the carriage and he got in the carriage. While D'Artagnan was talking to the lady in the carriage, he heard the sound of Fouquet and his men. They were on their way to come nearer to them. Fouquet and his men came around the carriage. Of course, they noticed the horse, which was tied at the back of the carriage. D'Artagnan took off his hat quickly and asked to borrow the lady's hat and cloak. as he wanted to disguise. What do we mean by disguise? He wanted to be as another one else. He didn't want to be recognized by Fouquet. Why did D'Artagnan borrow the lady's clothes? Which clothes did he borrow? He borrowed the hat and the cloak. Why did he do that? He wanted to disguise. He didn't want Fouquet to recognize him or to know that he was D'Artagnan. To disguise himself so that Fouquet wouldn't recognize him. Fouquet asked the driver about the horse, which was tied at the back of the carriage. The lady told him that the horse was to the Duchess of Verm, whose horse was frightened by a rat. Rat means big mouse, and threw her off. Then she found her lying by the side of the road. Of course, she didn't tell him the truth. She noticed that the fine man who came into her carriage didn't want to be known by Fouquet, so she helped him because she was a fine lady. Fouquet tried to look into the carriage and talk with D'Artagnan in disguise. In disguise means he wore different clothes in order not to be recognized. Which clothes did he wear? He took the lady's cloak and hat in order to disguise. But the fine lady tried to hide D'Artagnan, who only nodded his head. Nodded means he moved his head up and down to sign or to see or to say that he was nice or to say okay. Who was the fine lady in the carriage that helped D'Artagnan? Fouquet asked the lady, "Who are you?" She told him that she was the Countess de la Vallière. Countess de la Vallière, the mother of Louise de la Vallière. Can you remember Louise de la Vallière, the beautiful lady that King Louis loved more and she didn't love him? We said before that she was in love with D'Artagnan. She didn't love the king. Fouquet was very surprised after he knew this, and he said, "This, she is a great success at court, your ladyship." Ladyship is a title that was given to the ladies, the king's favorite at the moment. He is talking about Louise de la Vallière. Fouquet told the Countess de la Vallière that they were looking for some traitors, and he asked her if she had seen them with a man looked like King Louis. She told him that she didn't see anyone. The morning was so quiet except the accident of the Duchess. Okay? At last Fouquet moved away from the carriage and ordered his men to move forward. D'Artagnan took off his disguise. What was his disguise? The cloak and the hat that he took from the lady. Then he thanked Countess de la Vallière for helping him. What did she tell him? She told him that her daughter talked or wrote to her about him in her letters. What did she tell him about her daughter? She said to him that her daughter would be very unhappy if anything bad happened to him. And her daughter was fond of him, admired him. At that time, D'Artagnan blushed. Blushed means he felt shy because he knew that Louise was in love with him, and also he was in love with Louise. Why did D'Artagnan blush? Blush means went pink because he was shy. His face went pink because he felt shy, because he was in love with Louise. D'Artagnan thanked Countess de la Vallière and untied his horse and went quickly to Paris. D'Artagnan went to the king's tailor His name is Personal. Why? As we said before, to order for another set of clothes for the king. To order for another set of clothes for the king. What did D'Artagnan tell Bertrand about the reason of asking for a second set of clothes for the king? He told him that they were going to surprise the king by making a present of portrait, showing him wearing the same suit he would have on the party. So he told him a lie. He didn't tell him the truth. He told him that they were preparing for a surprise for the king. They want another set of clothes for a model man can wear this suit, and a painter can make a portrait or draw a portrait for the king, and the king would be very happy to see the portrait. How did D'Artagnan urge? Urge means convinced or persuaded Bertrand to finish the set of clothes quickly. He offered him 30 gold louis. Gold louis means the currency or the money at that time. He gave him a big amount of money. D'Artagnan was about to leave at the king's tailor when Fouquet came in with 2 of his soldiers. Bertrand was making also a new suit all in gold for Fouquet. Fouquet thought himself that he is the king. He thought only of his pleasures. He asked or he ordered Bertrand to make for him a gold suit, all made of gold. Of course, it's too expensive. Fouquet asked D'Artagnan about the traitors. D'Artagnan told him that he had no news. He didn't know anything. He also knew that the traitors were in Athos farm, and it's far away. Fouquet told D'Artagnan that he had every spy in Paris looking for the traitors, the 3 musketeers with Philip. He also offered 5,000 gold louis for each one of them. The one who will say who or where are they would take 5,000 gold louis as a gift. Fouquet ordered D'Artagnan to forget about the king's birthday party and start looking for his friends, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis, or else he wouldn't trust him, as he trusted no one. As we said before, Fouquet was always suspicious. He doesn't trust people easily. That's why he was still alive and still the king's chief minister. Why was Fouquet annoyed with Bertrand, the king's tailor? Because Bertrand kept breaking him as he was pinning the suit together. Do you think Bertrand would tell Fouquet what D'Artagnan wanted? He would tell him about the other set of clothes or the other suit that D'Artagnan ordered for the king? Do you think he would tell him? We will see at chapter 7. I want you to look at these highlighted boards